Honorable Leader of the Opposition.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, when the CIP was sort of, there was a committee that was formed. In that committee, there were representatives of the opposition, representatives of the private sector, and they came together for concept. After much debates that made the CIP a reality. Unfortunately, when the CIP came into being, the government that had promoted it were not chosen by the people of St. Lucia. So the entire management of the CIP program has been with the current government, even if it was conceived and the legislation came to Parliament through cabinet by the Labour Party government. But I remember distinctly, Mr. Speaker, that the leader of the United Workers' Party at the time made mention that the private sector should be more deeply involved in the CIP. The private sector should have more say. The board should not consist of government-appointed people. And he made a point that the CIP monies should not be used for recurrent expenditure, and they should be used for reduction of debts. He even wrote a letter to the St. Lucia Hotel and Tourism Association, making these points known. And I think in his public utterances, he said all the time that the CIP was not being done the right way because of government had its hand too much in it. Fast forward, Mr. Speaker, they amended the CIP legislation or the regulations or whatever they did, and they reduced the qualified investment. They reduced many of the provisions. And as they always say, they're in government, you know what's right, they did whatever they wanted because they're in government and they have all the answers. No problem, we understand that. Mr. Speaker, but here we are, coming to Parliament with a St. Lucia National Economic Fund bill. And in that same bill, what it does, in a roundabout manner, it puts even more power in the government. It gives the government even more power to determine the use of the CIP money. And Mr. Speaker, in that bill, there are, on many occasions, and I'm going to list it, Mr. Speaker, where the government and the minister has direct control over the board. So the board cannot be autonomous because the Minister of Finance has direct control over the board. On page 4.2, the minister shall, after consultation with cabinet by order published in the Gazette, declare a government-approved capital project. The minister shall. On the same page, 5.2, monies of the fund must be deposited to the credit of the fund in a financial institution approved by the minister. Number 6, the St. Lucia National Economic Fund. Now, Mr. Speaker, I have no issues with public servants. Some members on the other side constantly attack public servants as whistleblowers, as leakers, as political appointees, particularly one member, constantly attacks civil servants, has been all kinds of things. I have no issue with civil servants. Listen to that, Mr. Speaker. 6, the board consists of no less than 5 members and no more than 7 members to be appointed by cabinet as follows. Look at the members. Now, let's look at 5 or 7. Let's look at the 7 first. The Director of Finance, who is a chairperson, the Budget Director, the Chief Economist, a representative from Invest St. Lucia, a representative from the ministry responsible for commerce, a representative from the Attorney General's chambers, and a representative from the private sector. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. How many in that 7 are appointed by the minister or by the cabinet? 1, Director of Finance. So if you appoint 5, because nothing says you must have 7. You can have 5 or 7. So if you appoint 5, look at the 5 you can appoint based on that composition. You can appoint all of them there can be civil servants. So what you've done is that you have appointed a board that can comprise the majority of civil servants, and they report to the minister and the boss or the members of the board. Director of Finance, his boss is the Minister of Finance. The Budget Director, his boss is the Minister of Finance. The Chief Economist, his boss is the Minister of Finance. A representative from the Ministry responsible for Commerce, his boss is the Minister of Commerce. A representative from the Attorney General's chambers, his boss is a member of the government. And a representative from Invest St. Lucia, is that there? A representative from Invest St. Lucia, his boss is the minister in charge of Invest St. Lucia. And a representative from the private sector. The only person, and I know how these things work, when the private sector sends a representative, the cabinet can say, I do not want him. That has happened. The private sector can send, supposing I'm a member of the Chamber of Commerce. I'm a member of the private sector. Suppose the private sector nominates me. You think they'll ever accept me? So when you have that, that's just flashing mirrors. Because when the private sector sends a representative, the cabinet can say, I do not want that person. So, Mr. Speaker, that entire board can report directly to the minister. So where it's autonomy. But as the same minister who spoke about the CIP ought to have more private sector representation. So if you have a completely transparent process, and I'm casting no aspersions on anyone, why can't you have more private sector people involved in the National Economic Fund Board? Now, the Director of Finance, who is chairperson, and the cabinet shall appoint one member of the board to be deputy chairperson. So the minister appoints the chairperson and he appoints the deputy chairperson. So, Mr. Speaker, this National Economic Fund Act, and listen further, cabinet shall, on recommendation of the minister, determine the remuneration to be paid to the members of the board. The minister, again, determines how you can pay them. So if the minister wants to get them X, you can get them X, or Y, you can get them Y. And that is the same government that has complained bitterly about ministerial involvement in boards. But that entire board reports to the minister. The minister is in charge. All of them he is the boss for all these members of the board. So where is the transparency, Mr. Speaker? Where is the transparency? And we know how things work. We know how things work. A member of the government said that if the commissioner of police, if he doesn't like the commissioner of police, he would not be commissioner of police. That statement was made openly. For the commissioner of police, you can imagine for the chief economist? Can you imagine? You think under that system that we live, you think any chief economist will ever stand up against the Minister of Finance and say, I do not think that is the right thing to do under that system we're into? Never. First of all, they'll be accused of whistleblowing, and they'll be accused of putting government secrets out. So this Central National Economic Fund gives no transparency, because it's really a government fund set up with government employees to do what government says. There is no independence there. There is no independence there. And that is how it is. And I want it, you can tell me it's a leap of faith. I'm not getting involved in why you want to set up your National Economic Fund Act. The member of Cabinet have spoken about it. But I'm saying, if you want to do it properly. If you want to do it with transparent, and if you want to involve people, involve more members of the private sector, involve more independent people. But all these people you have there, they report to the Minister of Finance. So they cannot be autonomous. They cannot be independent. They have to go according to the dictates of the Minister of Finance, who is the boss. And that is the reality of the world that we live in, and that is the reality of the act that we have in front of us here. So you do your thing, because you're in government, you can do whatever you want. But that is just a mirage for transparency. It's just a mirage. Mr. Speaker, look at the functions of the National Economic Fund. One of them is to reduce government debt. And the Prime Minister said that the Ministry of Finance the Ministry of Finance can apply to a loan from the National Economic Fund. So the Director of Finance will apply to himself. The Ministry of Finance can apply to a loan from a National Economic Fund. So the Minister, the Director of Finance will apply for a loan from himself. He's the one who has to prepare the loan application through his PS, and send it to the minister, to the board, where he himself will sit on the board. What? And what is that? Where is the transparency? Where is the transparency? And when you speak about that, what they do is they abuse you and call you all kind of names. Why isn't there more private sector or quasi-independent people in that board? Why is it the board of civil servants all reporting to the boss? And I'm not singling out who is the boss. The boss is the Minister of Finance. So this is just a mirage. It is just a flashing mirror to make good for not following the dictates of the original CIP Act. So you just do that. And I still ask the question, how much money was Range paid? Because in the Social and Economic Review, it said that part of the CIP proceeds, and we quote it now, part of the CIP proceeds were used to pay a developer. They were smart, they never said Range. And up to this day, the people of St. Lucia do not know. They do not know how much money was paid to Range developers. So, Mr. Speaker, the government can do what it wants, as they always say. They are the best brains, they are the best managers, they are experts. They can do what they want. The opposition will speak on issues that they think are not right. But the question is, if you want to do something, you want to appear to be transparent, and you want to appear to do things that are differently, come better than that. Don't appoint a board comprising all civil servants that report to you. Come better than that, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, in this regard, I understand the government's right to do whatever they want, but I'm saying that is just a mirage. It's just something that is done for cosmetic purposes, and it serves absolutely no useful purpose, because all the members of the board have to report to their boss. So their decisions will be based on what their boss says, who is, in that case, the Minister of Finance. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.